Okay, welcome back to the Snap. Michael Heaver here, of course, alongside my co-host on the show, Patrick O'Flynn. And Patrick, it's back to that story again, I'm afraid. Illegal migration, small boats across the channel from France to Kent. Yesterday, we hear the number was 740 people. I've seen calculations that means it's over 13,000 for this year so far already.
Yeah, and every day the sun comes out and the water gets calmer, you know there's going to be a bumper crossing, expecting similar or more again today. I must say, I'm normally a man of a long fuse, not a short temper, but I'm fuming at this now because every single time this happens, you just get Boris Johnson and Priti Patel and other Tory MPs trying to whip up a row with France. Apparently we might not give them the 50 million quid we promised for their work in trying to cut the crossings. Well, fair enough, but this isn't about the French government. This is about the British government failing to discharge a basic duty of frontier control, taking us back to a pre-modern level of borders. And it's doing it willfully. It won't bite the bullet on offshore processing. It won't pull us out of a thicket of international agreements until the migrants work out it's not worth their coming across. The traffic's going to continue. The only way to send that message that it's not worth coming is to stop them putting a foot on British soil, to take them off to an offshore processing camp where they will remain until another country, not Britain, but their country of origin or another country is willing to take them. That would kill this. Boris Johnson won't do it.
I mean, it's now been reported that Priti Patel has spoken to Conservative MPs and threatened to withhold this £54 million that's been muted. Of course, we've given the French tens of millions of pounds on this already. I mean, the problem with relying on the French, Patrick, is that it simply hasn't worked, doesn't work. We've given them shed loads of cash. The numbers have continued to increase. The problem has got worse. As you say, it seems to me relying on the French and just giving them more money as a strategy to deal with surging numbers across the channel via this illegal route, that has comprehensively failed. And the UK now needs a different approach. Very clear, isn't it, on the basic point? This will only be curtailed when those coming across illegally know that there's no point because they will not be allowed to stay. And we also know, of course, I mean, the astronomical sums now that criminal gangs must be making per day has just spiraled totally and utterly out of control. And as you say, it's a disgrace that it's been allowed to reach these sorts of numbers for this sort of amount of time now. It's gone on over years, this has increased.
I think it's been the last 3 summers. Each time it's taken another step change up. This has been by far the worst one, despite Priti Patel and her immigration minister promising to make the route completely non-viable. It's the worst case of non-delivery on a major issue that's going on with this government by a mile. And yet Labour and Keir Starmer never mention it because they're the party that wants no border controls at all. At the moment, millions of voters are fuming, but looking around and can't really see a political alternative that's committed to a policy proposal to get a grip on this. And Richard Tyson reform put a toe in the water occasionally, but they're not making it a priority. So the government has got a free pass, and it's almost mocking the electorate by these ritual denunciations of France. France is about 200 miles of relevant coastline to patrol. It's not a big issue for the French people that a load of young men from Africa and Asia want to leave France and head to England. Why would it be a big issue? It's never going to be a high priority for France. Each country must look after its own borders, and it's its own national government's job to do it.
I mean, there's been speculation again that this week there could be a reshuffle on Thursday, and we've heard again that potentially Michael Gove could take over at the Home Office, with Priti Patel being moved to the Foreign Office. Whether that happens or not, we'll have to wait and see. But what do you make of that, Patrick, in terms of a change in personnel, in terms of the Home Office, in terms of the Home Secretary? Do you think that would make a difference or not?
I don't see disco dancing Michael Gove being moved to a great Department of State myself imminently. He's certainly got the intellect to understand what won't work, which is what the government's doing now. But to be honest, I think Priti Patel probably has as well. The whole key is that the Prime Minister himself will not countenance pulling out of various international agreements, will not countenance moving to offshore processing as standard, and is addicted to feeble gimmicks. I think Dominic Cummings exposed this in his own blog a few weeks ago. So whether it's Gove or Priti Patel, I think is largely irrelevant. It's all at the moment rhetoric, empty promises. And, you know, each time we go round the rock again and we end up in the same place and we hear the same promises, fewer of us believe them. But the frustration is there's just no obvious alternative out there by which to frighten the government, like after all UKIP did back in the day on overall immigration numbers and also the demand for an EU referendum. There's no similar outlet at the moment.
Well, as ever, guys, myself and Patrick will keep bringing you all the very latest on this. So make sure you've hit subscribe and the bell here on the Snaps YouTube channel so you don't miss our next show. Myself and Patrick will be back soon.
See you soon, folks.